legs, arms, glutes, abs, anime girl. All these things separately are just chunks of meat, but when you combine them together, you get a beautiful creation. Buff anime girl. In my head, there are three main builds of muscle filling. There's the small build, the medium build, and the absolute unit. And within each build, there are different factors that can affect how each build looks. The amount of body fat percentage a person has, which affects if they have a buff look, a ripped look. Secondly, the length of their torso or limbs, which affects how compact the muscles are. Each build has their strengths and weaknesses, and I'll be going over those today.
And drawing each one.
Yeah. First, talk about the smallest build. Majority of muscle girl characters fall into this build. I think that's because generally it's the most attractive build. I mean, you get to keep most of the femininity and curves. What this build does better than all the other builds is the shredded look, especially with the abs. Despite all the positives, this build does come with some negatives, like not being able to look muscular 24/7. For the drawing, I have a ref I'm using to stay on model. Then I adjust certain areas like the waist to fit my preferences. So I know I did mention this build does the shredded look the best. Personally, I don't like them looking too shredded. So by using less lines and defining muscles in certain areas and chub in others, I'm able to create a semi-shredded, bulky look. I also like having this build with a longer torso because it gives it a more stretched out feel. The next build is the medium build. I couldn't think of any names. This build is my absolute favorite. It has the bulk, it has the mass, but not too much of it. It's like when they finally found out how to go to Super Saiyan 2. Also still room to show curves in this build, so it's a win-win. I was trying to think of negatives, but honestly, there aren't any for this build. And for the drawing, I'll be using the bunny girl from My Hero. To be honest, I don't even know her name. To increase the bulk from the last build, I just broadened everything a bit more. Think of stretch res. And I also made the muscles more spherical to add bulk. I also like having a little bit more shred on this build, so I carved and defined the muscles a bit more, especially where they attach to one another to give that effect. Next we have the biggest build, the absolute unit. This is my least favorite build, but by no means is it bad. It does have one thing though, the thighs. And if you can't tell by now, I really love thighs. Some negatives this build has is that it can look quite rigid or manly at times. Or do I only think that because of preconceived notions of what a woman's body should and shouldn't look like? Who knows? We live in a society. For this drawing, I'll be using Noi from Dorohedoro. The ref I grabbed was only for the pose, but I plan to increase the muscle mass. To do that, again, I just made the muscles more spherical, this time adding contour hatching to emphasize the bulging muscles. I already have a tendency to make the thighs larger than normal, and this build gives me an excuse to amplify that times 10, so I did. Now, the bigger the muscles are, the stiffer they come. So that's why I use references to avoid the toy doll look. The references also help me notice the nuances in the muscles. Now that I look back, I definitely held back.
Oh my god.
Definitely could have made the arms bigger, just the whole upper body bigger. But wait a minute, what's this?
Fight with all your heart! Where are you going?
I think we all know what this means.
Here are some more helpful tips on drawing muscle.
Proportions can change how a build looks entirely, so that's why it's important to find out which proportions work best for each build. I'm sure you've all heard of the chain analogy artists use to explain muscle. Well, it's actually pretty helpful. You can also take this idea a step further by thinking about where the muscles interlock as feeding points where the muscles will flow into. And lastly, reference other artists to see how they draw their muscles. Seeing their thought process on which muscles to show and which muscles they chose to leave out can really take away a lot of the stress that comes with learning anatomy/muscles. This was just my general outtake on muscle, but it's obviously way more complex than that. Join the Discord if you haven't already. And anyways, love you guys. Peace.